Hey everyone, this is David from CCG House Games, and I'm just doing this video so I can show you what a great game Marvel Champions is. So in this video, we're going to go over some of the basic mechanics of Marvel Champions and what makes it such a great, unique game for cooperative and solo play. So let's go ahead and get into that. In Marvel Champions, you take on the role of classic Marvel heroes like Iron Man, She-Hulk, Captain Marvel, Spider-Man, or others, and work alone or with friends to stop classic Marvel villains from completing their criminal schemes that range from robbing banks or to nuclear destruction. You begin the game by picking your character and building a deck. Every character comes with 15 specific character cards. You then add more cards to it and build a deck of 40 to 50 cards. You do this by choosing one of the four aspects: aggression, justice, protection, and leadership. After your deck has been built, you then begin the game. Each player keeps their character and play the whole game. Hand sizes are determined by the character. Each character has two types, as shown by the front and the back of the character card. They have the hero type and the alter ego type. Heroes can play hero-specific cards, which I will talk about later, and can do any of the three actions shown on the left side of the hero card. Let's take a look at this Iron Man Tony Stark. On the Iron Man side, we see the three actions. In the blue action, we have Thwart, which is used to remove threat tokens from the scheme, or side schemes. The red action, we see Attack, which allows you to attack the villain or any of the minions. And then the green action we see is Defense, which you can use to defend yourself, other characters, or other heroes in play. Every hero usually has a text box with another ability. Some of those can be activated abilities, some of those can be static abilities that may trigger in response to something. Now, when we look at the alter ego side of Tony's, we see he only has one action, and that one is yellow. That's called Recover. The character can choose to recover when in alter ego form or play alter ego specific cards. Depending on your character's state, the villain will decide to either attack you if you're in hero mode, or they're going to scheme and add more threat tokens if you're in your alter ego form. Before we take a look at some of the cards, let's take a look about how you play cards. In this example, we see in the top left corner of the cards is the cost required to play Swinging Web Kick. In order to pay for those costs, you have to discard cards from your hand. On the bottom of each card, you'll see these rectangles with symbols in them. For each symbol, it's going to generate one cost. Some cards are going to have one symbol and one square. Some are going to have two squares with one symbol in them each. The cards that have two squares generate two resources. The cards with one square only generate one. In this case, you would have to discard the Genius card and the Web Tracker in order to pay for Swinging Web Kick. Now let's go ahead and take a look at some of the other types of cards in this game. In this game, we have cards that are allies, upgrades, events, and resources. Each of these cards play a little bit differently. Allies and upgrades, along with supports, come into play and stay in play until they are removed. Allies are similar to heroes to where they have an attack and a thwart option that you can use to help you deal with the villain or some of the minions in play. Upgrades are attached to characters, whether they're yours or your companions, in play and give you a boost of some sort. Events can be played at any time during your turn. However, you need to pay attention to which ones are hero-specific and which ones are alter ego-specific. And then the last one is resource cards. Resource cards usually just provide you a lot more resources, whether they're anywhere between 1, 2, 3, or sometimes 4. Now that we've seen some of the hero cards, let's take a look at some of the villain cards. In this picture, we see Rhino as the main villain and the Break-In known as the main scheme. All villains have a certain amount of health dictated by the amount of players playing. Each villain has a scheme value and an attack value shown above. Each villain comes with its own main scheme and a certain amount of cards, which we'll look at later. But looking at a villain, we see they have a scheme and an attack. So based on what form your hero is in, they're going to scheme or they're going to attack. So when we see Claw, we see he has a scheme value of 2 and an attack of 0. Meaning when he schemes, he's going to put at least 2 threat tokens on the main scheme. And when he attacks, he's going to do that much damage to your hero.
When looking at the main scheme, we see that there is a target threat and a starting threat. The target threat is dictated by the amount of players. So in this case, when we see 7 in the player symbol, it's going to go up in multiples of 7 based on the amount of players. The starting threat is how many threat tokens it starts off with, which is 0. And in this case, the break-in is going to get 1 per player every time it's the villain's turn. Once it meets the target threat, the heroes will lose the game. Each main scheme is different based on the villain that you're playing. And lastly, let's take a look at some of the villain cards. The villain is going to play a certain amount of cards at the end of his turn. Some of those cards that come out are going to be either minions, which work as enemies that your heroes have to engage, or they're going to be more side schemes that you have to deal with that normally affect the game in some negative way, or you're going to see treachery cards. These are cards that immediately get resolved when they come into play and normally have some type of devastating effect, whether they're making you get rid of your allies or upgrades, or making you discard cards, or sometimes they're just doing straight up damage to you.
Alright, well that wraps up our video about Marvel Champions. If you've liked this video, make sure you click like and subscribe. And if you're interested in getting this game, you can always give us a call, or you can come into our store local or check our website out. Like I said, this is a great game for playing cooperatively or solo, especially for those in your life that really enjoy Marvel characters and the Marvel mechanics. Thanks, guys.